Welcome back to the Unstuck movement. I am your host, Rob Z. This platform is created to help you break those chains that have been holding you back in your life. These are stories of perseverance. These are stories of breakthrough. I love finding new ways to break through in life. If we can find strategies for breakthrough, then we can level ourselves up to new plateaus, to new heights in our lives and our business. And so I love bringing amazing guests on here who have done that for themselves and who help other people do that. Before we jump into the guests, I want to shout out to the CLA, the Connected Leaders Academy, for making this podcast possible. If you are looking for incredible entrepreneurs, incredible leaders who will change your life dramatically, check out Jose Escobar and the Connected Leaders Academy. Get all the details about the CLA in the show notes for this episode. Today, I have the incredible, the powerful Sifu Rafael Gomez on the program, a fitness and martial arts professional, solutions expert, and executive coach. Sifu leads Max Martial Arts and Fitness in New York as one of the creators of Mosaic Experiences. He aims to unite individuals, fostering personal exploration through extraordinary experiences with their next event scheduled for February 10th in New York. Rafael, it is so awesome to have you here on this platform. Thank you for being a part of the Unstuck movement.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
For sure, my friend. And the topic we're going to talk about today, so I love the concept, the topic of forgiveness because it's so powerful. It's so foreign to many people, and it's so transformative as you go through forgiveness. And I love to frame these episodes with a question. As you know, you ask better questions in your life, you get better answers. Where is the power in forgiveness, and where have you sought the power of forgiveness in your own life?
Wow. When you consider what you just said, it is so deep, and a lot of people, they think they forgive, but then they keep bringing it up, right? They bring up, they rehash the past, and then they really haven't forgiven because they're still holding on to it. So I think forgiveness is definitely letting go. At the age of 18 is when I truly, truly learned how to forgive. And just really quick, I grew up in a household where abuse was common. It was like pass me the milk. It was like whap hap, kind of thing. Verbal abuse, physical abuse. It was so common that I lived on the streets for about 2 weeks before they found me. I ran away. I just didn't want any of it. I was gone. And, it was the kind of situation where if my dad didn't draw blood when he hit me, he wouldn't stop. If my mom didn't break something, she wouldn't stop. And later on, when you look back at the age of 18, I no longer lived with my parents. Actually, one of my sisters took me in because she saw what I was going through. And because after they found me, I ran away for 2 weeks. I was 10 years old. I lived on the streets. And I was never planning on going home, except they found me. And when they found me, what they did was brought me home and I got a beating. So I was like, oh, cool. I'm back in the same situation. So eventually, I knew that I was not going to last there. So one of my other sisters said to me, if you ever feel like that, come see me. Just come to my house. So I took a bus to her house. What I didn't know is that sometimes trust has to go both ways. So I trusted her. She actually called my parents. They came and got me, took me home, and got a beating. So at this point, I really lost trust. Right? until I was about to truly, truly just leave. And my sister intervened and she goes, no, my oldest sister. She goes, no, you're coming to live with me. It's not like you're going to come visit me and I'm going to call dad, mom. No, you're actually coming and you're going to live with me. And I couldn't believe it, but it actually happened. And to me, she calls herself my mother's sister because she became that. I was no longer beaten up. I was no longer abused. I went to church. I went all these different things. I definitely changed, but it was to her that I said at the age of 18, I want nothing to do with the rest of the family, not one of them, because they all put their hands on you. They all hit you. I'm number one of 10. I mean, of 12. I'm sorry. I'm number 10. And I have 5 brothers, 5 sisters who now I have 4 brothers who are alive, 5 sisters. And when you consider when somebody has gone through something like that, you can kind of understand that they don't want to do anything with anybody like that.
Mhm.
But she's so passionate, my sister, and she truly is a saint. She truly saved my life. She turned around and she goes, you can't do that. I said, oh, yes, I can. She started crying. And I said, I don't care. I said, I'm done. So I said, I don't want to go to any family functions, nothing. So it took me, she said, just do me one favor. I know how you feel, but I want you to really think about it. I said, okay. I owed her that much to at least give it some thought. And I really sat down with these thoughts and I started asking why. Why did I go through this? And, when something happens to us, we use the blame game.
Mhm.
What did I do wrong? What's wrong with me? When you consider these things, and then you consider, well, what's wrong with them? Why did they do these things? And then when I got deeper and deeper into this process, then I realized that maybe they're just passing the buck. This is how they grew up. They didn't know any better. And that's where the true moment of forgiveness came to me because I said, how am I judging them and who am I to judge them? I don't know what they personally went through at all. No idea.
Mhm.
I know what my brothers and sisters went through. So they were starting to pass the buck too, because this is what they learned. Somehow my oldest sister saw it different. She wasn't abusive and she's not verbally abusive or physically abusive. But I noticed that a lot of my siblings were abusive in one way or another, maybe not physically. I think the boys were more physical abuse than the girls. The girls were more, maybe they hit their own kids, but with other people, they were more verbal of the way they communicated.
Mhm.
So in understanding this, I think that's why I've taken communication to be so deep because it's the words we use, it's the actions we take, the meaning behind our words. If I say I love you, I mean, really? Do you? What does that really mean? Because my parents, I got to tell you, I never heard the words I love you from my parents when I was a kid. Not
Mm.
once. Not once. But later on, I did. And here's the funny thing. I turned around and I told my sister, you know, I am going to forgive my family. After that deep consideration, that deep thought, that deep dive, because I realized that it's not me. And I could not forgive them if I kept blaming myself. Because every time I would be in the mix with them, I'm going to expect the abuse, the,
Mm.
the verbiage that's going to come out. So when I realize it's not me, it's them, they have the issues. But I can't blame them for having issues they don't know how to control. So once I did that, I truly opened up my heart
Mm.
and I said, whatever they do, it's on them. It's not on me anymore. And somehow that dynamic changed even for my mom and my dad. My mom, when she passed a couple of years ago, she passed the beginning of 2020, a day before her birthday. She had dementia at the time, but she would call me on the phone and we would talk. I never said to her, I forgive you, not once. But I also didn't bring things back up. I didn't rehash things. And slowly my mom saw my heart. And for some strange reason, I remember this specifically, before she had dementia, she said, "You're my angel." I said, "That's kind of odd for her to say that to me." And when we consider that the actions that we take can maybe change someone else's heart, I think because I didn't blame her, I didn't rehash things, and I showed her love. Because before it's, how can you love someone when, you don't know when you're going to get a beating? It's almost like if you consider a dog unconditional love, but if you beat that dog constantly, that dog is not going to want to be near you. Maybe you hit it once or twice, and that dog didn't realize it, and it comes back and it's still wagging its tail. But how long can you beat a dog and it still wags its tail? Pretty long, probably. But she noticed that my tail was still wagging towards her. And she beat me so much that I still showed her love. So it changed something in her. It changed something in my dad too.
Mm.
Because when my dad died at 91 and he retired, he went back. I'm Colombian. He went back to Colombia. And I used to call him all the time. And we'd have a great conversation all the time. And he also showed me love. He came to visit me and all that stuff. He came from Colombia just to visit me, visit my other siblings, but he made sure that he made time for me and we had some great times together. So I think forgiveness starts with us and we can't play the blaming game or the rehashing game. You really have to let go. And I think when we learn that, I mean, I don't think there's anyone out there that's ever hurt me ever, since I was 18.
Mm.
And somebody said to me, man, I've never seen you get angry, mad, ticked off, get crazy with somebody, throw things. I've never seen you angry. And sometimes I've seen people like try to hurt you, but you're super nice to them. What's wrong with you? That's what I've been blamed. What's wrong with you? How come you're like this? How come you're like so relaxed? Because I realized at the age of 18, if I allowed other people to take away my power, I would be weak. And at the age of 18, I said, no one will ever take my power away.
Man, thank you for sharing that. That is incredibly powerful. And there's so many different ways I could go right now with this.
Mm,
The thing that stands out to me the most, Raphael, is we all go through things in our lives that build up unforgiveness inside of us. A lot of that is, stuff back to our childhood and with our parents. Most people never realize these things at any point in their life, and maybe way later in life.
mm,
I know for myself, it took me until my late 30s to even grasp what, even though I had heard it many times, it took me a long time to even grasp what forgiveness felt like and looked like and really meant, right? Because the way that I understand forgiveness and the way that it's worked for me is that I don't need to carry around this stuff anymore. This forgiveness is for me. And
mm,
if I can forgive, now I'm going to heal. So now the situations in my life are also going to heal because I'm healing from the inside. Now, I did not go through nearly the things that you went through, but the fact that you had this realization at the age of 18, not very much, removed in years from the abuse that you went through, what do you think it was about you? Because I've heard these concepts for many years, but it took me many years to embrace them, understand them, and then actually apply them to my own life. What
Mm.
was it about you that allowed you to apply them at such a young age after going through such terrible abuse from the people who are supposed to be the ones who love you the most?
I think it's a belief in God for sure. A belief in my purpose. My purpose, and I knew early on was it's a lot of people are selfish, and so am I, by the way, and I hope you are too. And what I mean by that is that we should take care of us first.
Yeah.
That's the selfish part. And I'm not talking about put everybody else down in order to take care of us. I'm saying, you wake up in the morning, what's the first thing that you do? For me, it's taking care of me. So
Yeah.
the first things I do when I go from a sleeping state to a wake state, first thing is I thank God that I'm alive, that I have the functions, that I have my fingers, that I can breathe, that I can move my legs. At a very young age, I also lost the ability to walk. I had polio and I was lost the ability. My feet turned backwards at the age of 3. And I was in braces like Forrest Gump, if you remember the movie,
Mm-hmm.
until eventually around, you know, it took a couple of years before I can get out of the braces. And I wore orthopedic shoes till about 12 years old. But it never, even though I can blame things, I
Mm-hmm.
realized that it's not me blaming, but it's me understanding what's my purpose. My purpose is to help. That is my why. I've been put here in this world to help people. And for me, every day, when I can impact one person, if I change one person's life for the better, I am doing my job. I am living my purpose. Every day, when I can impact someone to consider their life, to understand that we're giving this beautiful gift every morning. You're awake. I don't care if it's a Tuesday, a Monday, a Thursday, Sunday, doesn't matter. So, people, they dread Mondays. Why? You're alive. You should be thrilled. Mondays are my favorite days. And so is Wednesday. Any given day, I wake up. First thing I do is I thank God. So grateful. I wake up in gratitude. I wake up. I, I pray in the morning. Sometimes I pray in the middle of the day. Sometimes I pray at night. And I'm not a fanatic. I just understand that the power of prayer can impact people and it can help someone out there.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, I'll have somebody like be really nasty to me and I pray on them. I'm like, I hope you get what you're needing in your life. I hope that,
Mm-hmm.
you find softness in your heart.
Mm-hmm.
Stop being so darn nasty. So I
Yeah.
think at the age of 18, when I forgave, it was because I went through that deep dive. I've been through so many experiences at the age of 18. I almost died several times for many different reasons. The fact that I had polio, the fact that I ran away, lived on the streets, I didn't know what a hug was, and a real, authentic hug from somebody who cared with their full heart, except for my sister, because she was authentic, she was real. She took me in when nobody else wanted me. Damn, pardon the French, but that was powerful for me. And if she can do that for me, I can do that for other people.
Mm.
And that's what changed me at the age of 18, not letting anyone else take my power away.
Mm. Just gonna sit with that for a minute. It's really, really good. I can tell you've gone through, you've done the work, and you've applied it. And I can just through the way you present
Mm.
what you say, the impact is there. And I just want to honor that. Thank you for sharing this. This is really, really amazing, man. What an amazing story and an amazing journey. So we're gonna give a shout out here to the Connected Leaders Academy, the sponsor of the show, for 1 minute. When we come back, I want to talk about how you've helped other people apply this to their life, because I know that we all have somebody or something in our life that we hold unforgiveness towards, and it might even be you yourself you're holding unforgiveness towards. What steps can we take? What can we glean from this conversation to apply it to our own lives? We're going to dive into that in 1 minute. Thank you, Rafael.
Hi, my name is Jose Escobar, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Connected Leaders Academy. We're a growing tribe, a community of entrepreneurs all over the world, globally, all across the country, high performers, titans of industry. If you're an entrepreneur and you're looking to grow personally and professionally, scale your influence, develop your skill sets, move the needle in your business, more clients, more money, more profit, the bottom line, and of course, grow your circle and your network like never before, this is where you want to be. Join the Connected Leaders Academy today. We are scaling massively. We want to welcome you in. Check me out on Instagram and on Facebook, the @ JAESCO25. We look forward to having you join us. Take care.
So there's so much truth in, as you change, the things around you change, the people around you change, your situation changes as you grow and change. And you've just told us an amazing story of your journey, but I want to talk about people who are watching or listening right now who are going through, whether they realize they're living in unforgiveness or not. They're holding on to things, they're letting life and the situations in life control them, steer them in the direction that their emotions might be taking them, or that society might be taking them, or whatever that might be. What are some things, I know that you are a high-level martial artist, you are a coach, you're an entrepreneur, I'm sure you've helped thousands of people walk through this journey. What are some of the foundational things that people can recognize? I think we'll start there. Things that people can recognize within themselves where they're holding on to unforgiveness, and they may not even realize that's what's holding them back.
I think one of the things is really spending time with yourself. So meditation is a huge aspect of what's my purpose, why am I here, what can I give? A lot of people, they want, but they don't realize that in order to receive, you have to give first, right? Always be willing to give, and don't put your hand out when you ask for something, right? If someone comes along and they offer you something, be gracious about it. One of the things that I teach Chinese martial arts, and in the Chinese martial arts community, or if you go into somebody's home, and if they offer you tea or biscuit or whatever it is, you never say no, because without you realizing it, you're not letting them do what they're supposed to do, which is give. Right. So a lot of people don't know that about Chinese culture. And there's probably many other cultures, but when you refuse someone who is willing to give you something, and it could be tiny, it could be a little something, learn to accept the gifts. Right. Waking up.
What if someone is trying to give you advice and they're not qualified, at least you feel like they're not qualified to give you the advice they're giving you?
That doesn't mean you beat them up for it. That doesn't mean that you tell them, "Oh, your advice is terrible." What it means is you have to be grateful that they even took the time and the energy, and then you go, I really appreciate the advice you're giving me. Let me sit with that." You don't tell them it's terrible advice, because who are you? Who are you to judge? Who am I? I'm nobody, right? We have one judge, and he's above us. And if you don't believe in God, that's fine. That's all cool. But if you're an atheist, you have to believe in something, right? Even atheists believe in something. So for me, and listen, I've been given terrible advice from coaches who I was paying. All I did was I thanked them and I let them go. So when you consider it's communication is understanding, right? If somebody tells you, gives you bad advice, and you and I spoke earlier, what nuggets can you get from that? What good things are in the message?
Mm-hmm.
Because if they really were genuine, if they came to you with their heart, they meant well, take that. That's a gift, right?
Yeah.
They may give you terrible advice. They may tell you, buy this stock, it's going to be great tomorrow. And tomorrow you bought 1,000 shares and you lost all your money. And then you start blaming them, right? But if you buy stocks blindly, you're at fault, not the person who suggested it. You have to do your due diligence and inspect what you expect, right? You need to know what's there. If somebody comes to me and gives me great advice, and I take it and I go, wow, this is amazing. And then they give me great advice again. And all of a sudden I start taking the advice blindly.
Mm-hmm.
They may come with advice that's not so good and may
Mm-hmm.
hurt me really bad because trust is there. I trust them. They're always giving me good advice. But that one time they gave me bad advice, should I blame them for it? Or should I blame myself that I did not inspect what they suggested?
Mm-hmm.
I don't care how good your advice is. I'm going to double check. You ever heard of that game that they play in New York City, and now they're starting to play it in Las Vegas? 3-card Monte.
No.
It's a 3-card Monte. They take 3 cards and they shuffle it. Usually it's on a cardboard because they run away as soon as the cops are coming. It's 3 cards, right? And they show you the card. Where's the king? Right? And these are 2 queens. Where's the king? And they shuffle, and boom, somebody wins. And who do you think wins? You have to. It's $20 minimum to jump in, right? This is on the street. And usually it's their guys, right? Who are
Right.
they're making believe they're just tourists coming by. And they'll throw 20, and then they'll win 2 or 3 times, and they'll do 100, they'll win again. And then you're like, oh, I keep seeing where our card is. And then when the real person comes and puts their 100 or 20, maybe they'll let you win once or twice. And they'll go, you want to double that? Oh my God, you're doing amazing. And they do it again. And all of a sudden you're at 300, 400, $500. I know what that looks like because I was never part of it, but I always used to see it. And I used to see the people lose their money.
Mm.
And then I used to see the police coming and the guys take their box and walk away. And the money was gone that quick. And the person would go to the police, that guy just stole my money. What guy? And they're like, oh, he went that way. What does he look like? Oh, well, it was 3 or 4 guys. I don't know which one. So that's 3-card Monte. When you don't inspect, but you get fooled by people, you can't be fooled. You have to. If you don't know what your accountant is telling you, and you trust your accountant 100%, you may go broke.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a financial planner and you don't question them, you may go broke. If you have a lawyer, and I've schooled some lawyers too, because I was doing contracts and I would give them the contract. They're like, oh yeah, it's good. You can sign it. I'm like, wait a minute. I read it again. I go, I highlighted everything that's wrong with this contract. And they come back. Oh, it's good now. I'm like, I check it again. No. One time I hired an attorney. I was doing lease negotiations. And I said, I'm not going to pay you a full fee. Why not? I said, because I did all the work. I said, so I'm going to give you a good amount of money, but not what you wanted, because you didn't work for it. I did all the work. I said, I don't even need you. That was the last time I ever used a lawyer for negotiations. I go through all my contracts. I have several businesses, And in one of the last lease negotiations I did, I was just telling somebody about it. I am paying less rent on a 10,000 square foot facility now, it's 2024, than I was paying, same spot, same location, than I was paying in 2016. Because I negotiated and because I knew my leases, and when I renewed, I renegotiated. And so I was able to reduce my rent, and my landlord is happy. It was not a win for me and loss for them. It was a win for them as well. But it's how you do it, right? So negotiations is also a big factor in communication.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, as we're coming towards the close of this episode, talking about the power that is in forgiveness.
Mm.
And, some of the things when I had sent this episode out to you just to find out where we were going to head in this, a couple of things you had said is a quote that you live by: getting better every single day.
Mm.
A life lesson that you hold true to yourself is that it's not always about me. When I think about forgiveness, tying in with those two things, it's really hard to get better every day as you're carrying around unforgiveness on a daily basis. Really hard to grow, really hard to change, because there's something in there that's stuck, that's holding you back. And understanding that forgiveness does need to be about you, in the sense that you need to be able to let something go. You need to be able to stop carrying something in your heart that is weighing you down. You're letting somebody or something rent space in your head for free everywhere that you go. I want to help anybody who's watching, listening, walk away with something just profound, in the sense that if I want to get better, I need to be able to forgive. If I want to get better, if I want to move past where I'm at right now and walk through life in a more blissful sort of way, and a more peaceful sort of way, and looking at the world as abundance instead of scarcity, because I think unforgiveness can hold us in a place of scarcity many times in our life, and that's a really difficult place to be at. It's something they can do today, a practical step they could take today that would help move them towards that. Something fundamental, something maybe that you practice on a daily basis, that if they put this into practice and try this out, they're going to start seeing that breakthrough in their life.
It definitely stems from not blaming yourself for an accident, right? An accident's an accident. This is why we have insurance. When we consider, and I talked earlier about negotiation and communication, it's the communication you have with yourself. Do you want to eat that ice cream? How are you going to feel afterwards? That's the negotiation right there. Can you forgive yourself if you eat the ice cream? Or here's the thing, right? If you're married and you say, I'm going to go cheat on my wife, well, what are the circumstances behind that? And why are you even considering cheating? What is that all about? So why are you even married if you even have that thought? So you need to negotiate with yourself. At the end of your life, what do you get to take with you? Not material things. You can accrue all the money, all the material things in the world. You still leave with nothing. Steve Jobs, incredible human being, but not the most loving guy, from what I gathered reading his book. He left with nothing. Multi-billionaire, left with nothing. Anyone out there now who is a multi-billionaire, they too will leave with nothing. All we can leave with is legacy. So what legacy do you want to live with? What legacy do you want 5 generations, 10 generations from now speaking about you, your name? Your name carries weight.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if you changed your name because of circumstances when you were younger. If you go by a different name, right? The other thing that I have to consider is who you really are is the person in your own head. Who are you? That will help shape who you become on the outside. Who are you internally? I think that's huge. I think if we can
Yeah.
start with that, let's start with who we are internally. If you had to speak with God right this minute and he's seen all the things you've ever done, there's no hiding. You're literally naked. What would you say if you had to have that conversation? What would you say?
Oh, that's so good. And I love. There's an amazing book. It's back here somewhere,
Mm,
called Imagine Heaven.
mm,
Really good. It's a near death experience book, and a lot of the stories are about the life review,
mm,
right? The life review that many of us experience, many of us will experience, and many people have experienced whenever they die. And that's exactly what it comes down to: is you're standing there naked before God. All your life's on display, and they go through and they review your life.
mm-hmm,
And the big thing they come up with, the big thing that is shown in these life reviews over and over and over again, is that God and Jesus is there, and the angels, and whoever, whatever the situation, seem to be somewhat different for different people. But the things that are highlighted as very important are the relationships and how you treated people. So that's the main thing that pops up.
mm-hmm.
And the person will be saying, what about this accomplishment? What about this accomplishment? And they're like, that stuff actually doesn't matter. Just like
Right.
you were saying about Steve Jobs, right? Those things don't make an imprint, don't make an impact in that life review. It's here's how you treated people. And then here's the impact the way you treated somebody had on that person down the line, and how it affected 5, 10, 15, 20 other people. And
Mm,
years beyond that, how it impacted their life and others. So that's so true, man. When you're standing there before God naked at the end of everything, and well, at the beginning of everything, I guess, really, but at the end of this life, what are you going to be shown, and who are you going to be in that moment? Because you're going to have a realization that it was about the relationships that you had. And I'll just share this real quick, because this just was profound for me, and goes back to everything we're talking about right here. I had a dream several years ago, that I was in the car with my grandma who had passed away, and while we were driving in the car, she was driving the car, and she leaned over and she hugged me, and I said, "Graham, what are you doing? We're going to wreck the car. You're not paying attention." And she says, "Don't worry about where we're going. Just love me. Don't worry about where you're
mm,
going. Just love people." And
mm,
I know it was God in that dream telling me that message, because I'm always concerned about where I'm going next, and I can miss the bigger picture of how am I treating people in my life. And
well,
so it helps me to remember that. And the line that you said there, who you really are is the person inside of your own head. Like, that's who you really are. We may show other people different versions of us, but how are we living with the person that we really are inside of our own head? And how do we improve that person, make that person better? I think that is a great message to
mhm,
leave this episode with. Raphael, it's amazing to talk to you. I'm glad that I've met you and
mhm.
get to be in your presence. Just to have this conversation has been phenomenal. If people got a lot of value from this, first of all, before you go, what does Sifu mean? I want people to know that, because I needed to know that. And then how can people get a hold of you?
Sure. Sifu means well, Sifu Rafael is just Sifu means teacher, right? In Chinese, because I teach Chinese martial arts, and some people know it as sensei, but it just Chinese martial arts. So Sifu truly means teacher, right?
And Sifu
And
is interesting because we hear sensei a lot, right?
right,
In America we don't hear Sifu. So when I saw
mhm,
that, I thought that was your first name.
yeah, a
So
lot of
it's
people
I
do.
like the yeah.
Yeah,
Not in
and
China, but here.
yeah, like if you look at Kung Fu Panda, right? The kids movie, they say Shifu, which with an H, and it's just Mandarin.
Oh, okay.
Sifu is Cantonese. That's all. It's just the style of martial arts that I teach and do, and
Interesting.
it's really incredible when you asked me a question earlier is how do I impact people on a regular basis? And I think that the most way to impact someone is to show them the mirror so they can see who they are and who they're becoming.
How can people get a hold of you? What should they do to contact you?
Check out my Facebook, Sifu Rafael G. G means is my Gomez, so it's Sifu Rafael G on Facebook, and that's probably the easiest way. You can message me there. I'm on Instagram, Fitness by Rafael, and I just love inspiring people to stop thinking small. And you said it earlier, there is abundance in our world, and you don't have to be poor. You don't have to be poor. Start with your heart, start with you, and you will grow the way you were meant to.
I love that. And I'm writing down notes here, man. You help people grow by showing them the mirror. That's amazing. That's really good. As from one coach to another, that's really good. Helping people grow, you have to show them the mirror. That's good stuff, man. Rafael, thank you so much for being a part of the Unstuck movement.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure being here.